Harrowing reversal. Homeless man's incredible past as racing legend revealed after 20 years. Jack sat on the cold, hard sidewalk, his layers of worn clothing doing little to shield him from the biting wind. Once, he had been the pride of the small Midwestern town, a racing legend roaring around the track, his engine a symphony of power. Now, he was just a shadow, collecting cans for pocket change and wrestling with demons of regret. The memories of victory filled his mind, but so did the crippling pain of loss. His wife, his children, all gone, leaving him with nothing but shattered dreams and addiction. On a chilly afternoon, while sorting through a pile of aluminum cans and plastic bottles, he overheard a group of young racing enthusiasts talking animatedly about the glories of NASCAR. Their excitement was infectious. They flipped through an old magazine, eyes wide, as they discussed his once celebrated career, igniting a flicker of hope in Jack's weary heart. "Can you believe this was Jack Thompson?" one exclaimed, a look of awe plastered on his face. "He was unstoppable." Jack felt a twinge, a silent yearning to reclaim the spark he thought he had lost forever. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. With news spreading around town about Jack's past, he gradually became a symbol of something larger, a reminder of how quickly life can change. As discussions sparked about economic inequality, he began to feel a collective warmth. The community remembered him, not just for his celebrated races, but also for the hope in his story, buried under layers of tragedy and shame. As winter tightened its grip, the town prepared for its annual fundraiser to honor racing legends. The thought alone sent chills down Jack's spine. It stirred memories of camaraderie, laughter, and unfulfilled expectations, the ghosts of his past that taunted him. What if he faced those who once idolized him? What if his family, his estranged wife, and children were there? Would he be met with warmth or judgment, acceptance or alienation? The day of the fundraiser arrived, and as Jack stood at the edge of the crowd, his heart raced. The vibrant lights illuminated the faces of those who had once cheered for him. Each step felt monumental, laden with unspoken sorrow. The air crackled with energy as he locked eyes with familiar faces that once wore admiration, now mingled with surprise and pity. As he began to share his story raw and unfiltered, the emotional weight built in the room. He spoke of loss, struggle, and resilience, weaving a tapestry of human experience that resonated deeply with those around him. Jack could see their faces soften, families grappling with their own hidden sorrows. The crowd's reactions played out like a vivid movie, interspersed with nods and whispers of understanding, and yet, in that moment, he grappled with the ultimate question: could he reclaim his dignity amidst public scrutiny, or would it send him spiraling back into the cold shadows of regret? The air felt heavy with anticipation as he stood poised, the warmth of community just beyond his reach, unsure if he could step forward into the light. Jack took a deep breath, the weight of his past mixing with the icy air. The crowd shifted, eyes glued to him, their anticipation palpable. He could almost hear their hearts beating in unison, a scary yet comforting collective pulse. 20 years ago, he began, his voice shaky but steadying, "I was that kid racing around dirt tracks, dreaming of big leagues. I had everything, until I lost it all." The honesty hung in the air, each word acting like a bridge back to those who once adored him. He paused to gather his thoughts, searching for the right way to express not only his regrets but his hopes. "I was a champion, but also a fool," he continued, the crowd as silence amplifying his vulnerability. I chased glory, but that led me down dark roads, away from the things that mattered most. Murmurs rippled through the audience, a mix of empathy and recognition. Some faces reflected silent sorrows, while others seemed hopeful. The sight sparked something inside Jack. He stepped forward, feeling the urge to share not just his struggles, but his awakening. But here's the thing. Losing everything doesn't mean the story ends. There's always a chance for redemption, for a fresh start. His words flew through the audience, igniting small moments of connection, hands clutching at tissues, and a childless whisper of encouragement. He locked eyes with a woman in the front, her expression a swirl of compassion and understanding. Was she connected to his past? Could she be a link to his lost family? The thought made his heart race even faster. I look out here and see faces that remind me of what I used to be. Once upon a time, my victories brought you joy, and now, perhaps my struggles can remind you all we're just human, trying to find our way. Jack's voice swelled with strength, transforming the shame he felt into a rallying cry for those who face their own battles. Somewhere along this journey, I realized I want to be more than a racing legend. I want to be an example. If I can rise from this, so can you. The silence shattered as a few people clapped cautiously, soon joined by others. Jack felt the warmth of the crowd wrap around him like a blanket, filling in the empty spaces he had thought would never heal. There were no longer just faces filled with pity, but a community eager to claim him back as one of their own. That moment, that powerful electric connection, began to lift him. Maybe he wouldn't have to battle these demons alone anymore. But as he observed their faces, a question lingered in his heart. What if they weren't just here to witness his downfall? What if somewhere in the audience his wife and kids were ready to embrace him again? The stirring of hope blended with trepidation as he scanned the crowd, searching for a glimpse of familiarity amidst the sea of faces. Would they see him not as the hollow man they remembered, but as the father, husband, and fighter he still hoped to be? Each passing second dissolved his uncertainty into a desperate need for connection, as he continued to share his journey. Just as the emotional tide seemed to pour forth, a voice broke through the crowd. "Jack!" It came like a whisper, but carried the weight of a storm, demanding attention. All heads turned toward the source. Jack's heart clenched, the familiar outline cutting through the gathering haze. Was this the moment he had been waiting for, or would it unveil more heartbreak? Jack's breath hitched, an electric current shooting through him. He squinted into the crowd, searching for the voice that dredged up memories buried deep. There she stood, Megan, his wife. Her eyes glistened, but the warmth he once knew felt wrapped in a protective barrier of hurt. Hesitant, she stepped forward, hands trembling as if fighting against an invisible tide. "Megan," he whispered, his voice barely audible. People shuffled aside, creating a narrow path between them. Heart pounding, Jack fought the urge to take a step forward. Instead, he stood frozen, standing in the very moment he had longed for, yet terrified of how it might change everything. The crowd held its breath. I've been looking for you," Megan finally said, her voice shaky but clear. "For years, I didn't know where you were, or if you were even alive." His own throat tightened at her words. The ache of missing her struck him hard. "I've made so many mistakes. I'm so sorry for everything." Megan shook her head slightly, refusing to let anger bubble to the surface. "You weren't the only one who lost," she hesitated, wrestling with her emotions. "We all felt it, Jack. We all felt the loss, the emptiness after you left." The words plunged into his heart, inflicting a sweet pain, a reminder of the life he had squandered. "But I've changed," he stammered, desperation creeping into his voice. "I'm trying to be a better man. I need to make things right." Tears spilled down Megan's cheeks, punctuated by the soft gasps of the audience. Jack wanted to step to her, to bridge the years and the pain between them, but fear anchored him in place. What if she saw him, as he feared most, a reminder of shattered dreams? "I want to believe you, Jack," she said finally, vulnerability lacing her voice. "But you have to show all of us this isn't just a moment." "You're right," he said, the words pouring from his heart like the tears he fought to hold back. "It has to be a journey, and I want to walk it with you. With the kids, if they all have me." The acknowledgement hung heavy in the cool air, palpable and raw. Nearby, faces that had been filled with sympathy now glimmered with curiosity and hope. Jack felt the energy shift. They were not just spectators to his despair. They too were craving a narrative of resilience and renewal. He could feel threads of connection weaving amongst the crowd, a collective understanding that loss could lead to second chances. Then Megan lifted her gaze slightly, searching through the sea of faces. "The kids, they need to hear this too." Just those words ignited another wave inside him. What if his children were really out there? Would they recognize their father, or would the years of silence drown the bond that once connected them? "I'll do whatever it takes," Jack vowed, meeting her gaze firmly. "I wouldn't let another day slip by." As he held her eyes, the crowd erupted into soft applause, a mix of encouragement and belief. Hope surged through him like gasoline on a fire, igniting every dream he thought extinguished. But Jack knew this was just the beginning. The road ahead wouldn't be smooth. A distant murmur echoed in his mind, the question lingering like a shadow. Would forgiveness be enough to mend a family so torn apart? With that, Jack turned to face the audience once more, a newfound determination in his heart. "It's time for us all to start anew. Who is ready to join me on this journey of healing?" The response was thunderous, a wave of cheers and claps flooding him with warmth, yet the haunting uncertainty still loomed. Now, he needed to find his children. Would they welcome their father back into their lives, or had the years of absence severed the ties completely? Jack's heart raced as the crowd's applause faded into the background, leaving only the rush of his thoughts. All that mattered now was finding his children. He couldn't ignore the years that stretched between them like an unbridgeable chasm, yet an ember of hope ignited within him. "Megan," he said, eyes locked onto her glistening ones. "Do you know where they are? Please, I need to see them." Her face paled slightly, a mix of shock and sympathy crossing her features. "They're with my parents now," she confessed, voice trembling. "I didn't know if you'd ever come back." The weight of her words settled heavily on his chest. His parents had always been the guiding force, but now there was another layer, another family dynamic that turned his stomach into knots. Are they okay?" Megan took a breath, calculating her response. "They're doing well. But, and it pains me to say this, they haven't forgotten. There's a lot of hurt, Jack." A rush of consequences flooded his mind. He envisioned his children, his precious little ones, growing up without their father, affected by his absence. Would they even want to see him? The familiar voices of self-doubt whispered to him, warning of rejection and resentment. "I understand," he said quietly, feeling the realization settle in his gut. I want a chance to show them how much I love them." Tears brimmed in Megan's eyes again. "Then you'll need to take it slow. They're still healing. It won't be easy." "I'll do anything," he replied, a whisper of determination fueling his voice. "I just need to know where to find them." As the two shared that intimate moment, the onlookers dispersed slowly, but not without lingering glances of understanding. Some had placed their own struggles onto Jack's journey, shedding tears for their trials, as they quietly rooted for his redemption. "Let us find a quieter place to talk," Megan suggested. She led him away from the gathering, and soon they found themselves in a nearby park where the soft rustling of leaves provided a cocoon of privacy. Jack fidgeted, struggling between the need to know and the fear of surrounding himself with unbearable truths. "What if they hate me?" he finally uttered, his voice quaking. "What if they blame me?" Megan stepped closer, her hand finding his arm in a comforting squeeze. "They're just kids, Jack. They want their dad, but they need to process everything that has happened. Just be patient." He nodded, the steadiness of her voice a small anchor in the storm inside him. They sat on a bench surrounded by blooming flowers, colors bursting like the hopes he felt sneaking back into his heart. But even as the beauty enveloped him, a doubt lingered. "I've made so many mistakes, Meg," he confessed, fighting against the hopelessness. "How can I show them I've changed? How can I expect them to believe it?" "I once thought you were lost forever," Megan said, her eyes softening as she spoke. "But look where we are now. It takes bravery to come back. That's your first step. You show them you're willing to put in the hard work. It's a path one you'll walk together." Just as a hopeful grin began to form on Jack's lips, a ringing phone broke through their moment. Megan reached for her pocket and pulled out her cell phone. Her brow furrowed, and all the color drained from her face as she answered. Hello?" Jack's stomach twisted into knots as he watched her expression grow grave. What do you mean they're not home?" The words fell heavily around them, reverberating in Jack's ears. Each syllable drew weight, the bliss of potential reunion suddenly hanging by a thread. "Please," Megan said, panic rising. "You need to tell me where they are." As she continued to speak into the phone, Jack felt a chill run through him. What if something had gone wrong? What if reaching out to his children didn't just propel him back into their lives, but instead dashed all hope? The knot in his stomach tightened as the stakes escalated, and he took a deep breath. "Are they safe?" he whispered, the words barely escaping his lips. Megan's eyes met his, filled with worry and uncertainty. "Jack, we need to go now." And just like that, their world seemed to tilt. Would they find his kids waiting for them? Or had the shadows of his past seeped too deep into their hearts, leaving only hardened scars? The world moved in a blur as Jack and Megan rushed through the park, urgency propelling their steps. The vibrant flowers that had once given Jack solace now felt like a cruel reminder of just how long he'd been away. His heart pounded like a drum, a frantic rhythm matched only by his spiraling thoughts. What if they've been taken? He muttered under his breath, his mind racing through the worst-case scenarios that clutched at his chest. Megan shot him a sharp glance, her worry mingling with determination. "We want to think that way. Let us just focus on getting to my parents' house." As they reached the road, Jack's heart sank. Memories flickered in his mind, the laughter of his children, the moments he could barely recall but longed for desperately. What had he done? How could he have let time slip away? Each second felt heavy, stretching out infinitely as they stood at the edge of a busy intersection, waiting for the light to change. "Do you think they're okay?" he asked, gripping the strap of his bag as if it were a lifeline. The last thing he wanted was for Megan to see his fear. The instinct to protect his children surged through him, raw and frantic. "They're strong," she replied firmly, though Jack noticed the tremor in her voice. She turned to him, her eyes fierce. "But they need you, Jack. They need their dad." Just then, the light flashed green. They dashed across the street, weaving between cars. Jack's pulse raced not just from exertion, but from the culmination of years spent wondering if he'd ever reclaim the title of dad. The streets felt different now, bigger and emptier in the shadow of his urgency. He replayed Megan's words while imagining his children at home, likely wondering why their father had disappeared without a trace. How could he fix this? As they reached Megan's parents' house, a heavy dread settled in Jack's stomach. The quaint little home that once felt like a sanctuary now felt too far from redemption. He couldn't stand the thought of seeing the hurt in their eyes. "It's gonna be okay," Megan whispered, placing her hand on his shoulder. They stood together, breathing heavily, and Jack willed himself to pull courage from somewhere deep inside. Megan knocked softly on the door, but the weight felt endless. Each passing second stretched painfully into minutes. Finally, the door creaked open. Megan's mother stood there, eyes wide and mouth half open in shock. "Megan? Jack? Is everything all right? Where are the kids?" Megan pressed, her voice a sharp edge of urgency. Jack's heart felt like it was lodged in his throat as he stood there, searching her face for answers. "Inside," she whispered, tears glistening in her eyes, a reflection of the storm brewing inside Jack. We should talk. Please." The word talk hung in the air, heavy with implication. Jack felt cold sweat trickle down his back. What did they know? Were his children safe? Would they even want to see him after everything? Just then, another figure appeared in the background, a tall, familiar silhouette framed by the hallway light. Jack's heart stopped. "Megan?" The voice was small, drawing his gaze towards a little boy standing half hidden behind Megan's mother. The boy's face mirrored so much of Jack's own younger self that it took his breath away. Seconds felt like hours as their eyes locked. "Daddy?" the boy finally whispered, his small voice quaking with curiosity and fear. Suddenly Jack was caught between elation and dread. Was this the moment of truth he had longed for, or was it simply the beginning of a deeper pain? He opened his mouth to speak, but no words came out. Megan turned to Jack, eyes filled with empathy. "You're not alone in this anymore. Show him you're here." Before he could respond, another voice chimed in from the shadows behind the boy. "Mom?" With that single word, an avalanche of emotions rushed through Jack. Would he find compassion and understanding in the eyes of his children? Or would he face a world of hurt that left him shattered once again? Jack took one small step forward, breathless, the moment heavy with promise yet pregnant with fear. Would he be welcomed back into their hearts, or would they turn away from a past he desperately wanted to change? The silence stretched as he took another step, heart pounding fiercely. Would they still see him as Dad? Or was it already too late to reclaim a shattered bond? Jack felt the air thicken around him as he took in the fragile sight of his son, the boy's wide eyes searching for recognition. He was a small beacon in a chaotic whirlwind that had become Jack's life. The warmth of hope flickered, but the weight of regret pulled him down. "Daddy," the boy repeated, voice a whisper, laced with apprehension. Jack's heart clenched. He knelt, bringing himself closer to the child's eye level. "Hey, buddy," he finally managed, his voice trembling. "It's me, Daddy." The words poured out, raw and unrefined, heavy with the years they'd missed. The boy's face broke into a small, uncertain smile. It was a flicker of light in a dark tunnel. Jack felt a surge of emotion. He longed to scoop him up, to embrace him and never let go. But he hesitated, paralyzed by the memories of all the birthdays, the bedtime stories, the moments that had slipped through his fingers like sand. Megan's mother stepped back, giving them space, tears still glistening in her eyes. "I'll go get your sister," she said softly, retreating into the house, leaving the door ajar. Jack watched her go, the knot in his stomach tightening further. He glanced back at his son, feeling the intensity of the moment like a raging storm. "I know I haven't been here," he paused, searching for the right words. "But I want to be here now. I want to make it right." Jack's son shifted his weight, uncertainty etched across his tiny face. "Where were you?" he asked, the question innocent yet piercing. There it was, the dagger of truth. Jack swallowed hard. "I was lost for a while. But I'm back now. I promise." A small voice came from the hallway. "Daddy?" A little girl appeared, face hidden behind thick, curly hair. She peeked at him from behind her mother's leg, her eyes filled with hesitant curiosity. Something inside Jack cracked open. The weight of her gaze, mixed with longing and fear, washed over him, the air becoming thick with unspoken words. "Hi there, sweetheart," he said gently. "I'm your dad." The girl took a cautious step forward, clutching a scratchy stuffed animal closely to her chest. "You went away," she replied, her voice small but steady. "I know," he said, fighting back tears. "It was a mistake. But I'm here now for both of you." They remained frozen, a triangle of broken pasts, each bearing scars that they'd have to navigate together. Jack reached out slightly, not wanting to frighten him. Megan stepped beside him, her presence steadying him. "You're doing great," she whispered. He flashed her a grateful look, feeling the warmth of her support. "What if you go away again?" the little boy asked, biting his lip as if preparing for disappointment. The question felt like a punch to Jack's gut. How could he possibly explain that he had only just begun to understand the depth of his own failures? "I want tea," he said, the weight of his promise heavy on his shoulders. "I swear to you, I will do everything I can to stay." The little girl glanced at her brother, her expression flickering between hope and fear. Jack reached out, longing to close the gap, to pull them both into an embrace that would erase the pain of absence. Can I hug you?" he asked, voice cracking. The boy nodded first, taking a brave step forward. The little girl soon followed, throwing herself into Jack's arms, her warmth igniting the fading embers of hope within him. Jack squeezed them tightly, as if trying to weave the fabric of their broken family back together. But as he held them, shadows loomed in the recesses of his mind. What would it take to truly heal? As Jack caressed their heads, he felt a sudden clarity wash over him. It wasn't just about making promises. It was about earning their trust, rebuilding a world he had inadvertently shattered. The hugs felt brief yet powerful, a fragile beginning. "Let us take it one step at a time," he murmured, heart racing with the challenge ahead. Just then, Megan's mother returned, her face somber. "We need to talk, Jack. There's something you should know." Jack's breath hitched, dread creeping back into his chest. What crucial news awaited him now, and would it threaten the small flicker of hope he had just begun to nurture? Jack's heart raced as he looked at Megan's mother, who stood just inside the doorway. The fragile smiles of his children felt like they could shatter any moment, and he couldn't shake off the impending feeling that this conversation could deepen the wounds he was desperately trying to heal. "What is it?" Jack asked, struggling to keep his voice steady. He shifted his weight, trying to calm the storm of emotion swirling inside him. Megan's mother sighed, her eyes glistening with apprehension. "It's about your past, Jack. Something that, well, it's been hard for us to keep from the kids." Jack's chest tightened. "What do you mean?" "They deserve to know me, the real me." She hesitated, biting her lip. "They deserve the truth, yes, but it's complicated." She paused again, as if weighing the gravity of what she was about to say. "You weren't just away, Jack. You were more than what you let them believe." A chill crept down Jack's spine. "What are you saying?" "The reason you left, it's not something anyone here talks about. You used to be someone else. Someone big. I thought you were just running from your demons. But when I saw your son call you Daddy, I couldn't keep quiet any longer." Jack's confusion deepened, clouded by the chaos of emotions. "You're scaring me. What does this have to do with my past?" Megan's mother took a deep breath, gauging his reaction. "You were a racing legend, Jack. 20 years ago, you were one of the fastest drivers in the circuit. You had it all, fame, fortune." Her voice faltered momentarily, finding the right words, but everything came crashing down after that accident. Jack could hardly breathe, every word crashing over him as memories flooded back uninvited. He had escaped all of it: his reckless courage, the flashing lights, the roaring engines, years of fame, and then his downfall. "I didn't want to be that person anymore. I left it behind for a reason." Megan's mother nodded, eyes sympathetic. "But your children deserve to know about their father, and the truth of why you disappeared. It's part of who you are." As he struggled to process this, Jack felt small, standing in the doorway of a family he barely knew. He was still figuring out how to be a dad, and now he had to wrestle with the shadow of a past that seemed foreign and yet hauntingly familiar. "Do they even know?" he asked, his voice barely a whisper. Her silence answered for her. Jack's heart crumpled. This was more than he had bargained for. They deserved honesty, yet the more he exposed, the more fractures he might create. At that moment, the children stood quietly, sensing the heaviness in the air but unsure of its weight. The little girl clutched her stuffed animal tighter, glancing up at her brother, who wore an expression that mirrored Jack's own turmoil. Jack took a step back, torn between the reality of who he had been and who he now wanted to be. "What are you saying? I can't just drop a bombshell on them like that." He rubbed his temples, feeling a headache form from the pressure of the moment. "Yes, you can," Megan's mother urged softly. "You owe them the chance to understand." Would this revelation tear the fragile band they had just begun to stitch together? The storm within him raged. Could he face the ghosts of his past without losing his future? Just then, the boy spoke, his voice filled with innocent curiosity. "Daddy, are you okay?" Jack looked down at his son. This wasn't just about racing or championships. This was about trust, love, and a connection that he had nearly lost forever. "I'm trying to be okay," Jack replied, but doubt crept into his heart. He faced a crossroads, one that could either unite them or tear them apart. Was he ready to embrace this truth? To confront the past he buried? The answer lay tangled between the soft curls of his children's hair and the uncertain gaze of a woman who once knew him as someone else. Jack took a shaky breath, a new realization blossoming within him. Maybe we all need to face the truth together. What would their journey look like in the aftermath? Would the past haunt them or help them build a future? As Jack stood there, feeling the heavy air settle around them, he couldn't shake the sense that the hardest part was yet to come. Jack's heart thudded in his chest, matching the rhythm of unsteady breaths that momentarily filled the space between him and Megan's mother. Every ounce of him wanted to protect the children from the truth, a raw truth that could cut deeper than anything he had ever faced. Yet, if he kept shielding them, what was that teaching them about honesty, about trust? He glanced back at his son and daughter, their wide eyes searching his face for reassurance. "Okay," he said, voice trembling slightly. "I'll tell them." The words felt heavy, each syllable suspended between fear and hope. Megan's mother nodded, relief washing over her features. "They need to hear it from you, Jack. They deserve to know who you were, and who you are now." A weight settled on his chest, heavier than before. He stepped forward, lowering himself to meet the children's gaze. "Listen, I need to tell you something important." His words spilled out slowly, each one deliberate. The children exchanged glances, uncertainty mingling with curiosity. He could see their innocent hearts yearning for his explanation, piecing together the man they barely knew. "Before I came here, I was someone else. Someone who did things that were dangerous, things that could have hurt not just me, but others too. I was a race car driver, and I was good. Really good." He paused, reflecting on the exhilarating roar of the engines and the crowding glory of winning. "But my life took a turn after a bad accident. I had to step away, to leave it all behind." His daughter shifted nervously, clutching the stuffed animal even tighter, as if it could shield her from the wave of emotions crashing into her. "Why didn't you come back?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. Jack felt his throat tighten. "I didn't know how. I thought it was better for you and your mother if I stayed away." "What happened in the accident?" His son's inquiry pierced the air, the innocent question leaving an unsettling void. "It was just a mistake. I lost control." Jack's voice faltered, haunted by the memories. "I hurt myself, and I hurt others. I thought I could never come back from it." Silence stretched among them, heavy and awkward. Jack held their entranced stares, both captivated and confused. Megan's mother stepped in gently, placing a comforting hand on Jack's shoulder. "But you did come back. You're here now. And that means something." His son furrowed his brow. "So you were famous, but you came back because you wanted to be a dad, right?" Jack could only nod, the sincerity of the moment catching in his throat. "Yes, and I want you to know that being your dad means more to me than any race or trophy ever could." Finally, a faint smile broke across his son's face. It was small, but it was enough to light a spark in Jack's heart. His daughter, seeing her brother, began to smile too, the unease slowly melting away. "We can do this together," Jack said, his voice gaining strength. The words sealed the moment, binding them in their newfound understanding. Megan's mother stood with them, allowing the moment to settle. They didn't need to chase the past anymore. They had a chance to build together, to face whatever lay ahead. Just as quiet laughter began to fill the room, Jack heard a faint beeping sound, like the distant echo of a starting engine. He turned to see Megan's mother staring at her phone, the worry creeping back into her eyes. "Jack, there's something I need to tell you," she said, her voice shaking slightly. "There's more to your past that you don't know, something that's been uncovered." Jack's breath hitched. Could the shadows of his former life become a threat to the family he was fighting so hard to connect with? His heart raced again, not from fear of the truth, but anticipation. Was he ready to confront even deeper layers of his past? Jack felt the room shrink around him, his gaze fixated on Megan's mother. The buoyancy of laughter faded like a receding tide, leaving only apprehension in its wake. "What do you mean something has been uncovered?" Jack's voice was barely more than a whisper, laced with unease. Megan's mother took a deep breath, steadying herself as if preparing for a race, and looked down at her phone again, her fingers trembling. "There are people looking for you, Jack. I thought they were just whispers of your past. But I got a message today." She paused, her eyes darting to the kids. I didn't want to say anything in front of them. Jack could feel the walls closing in, memories of the past swirling like a storm in his mind. Faces he had tried to forget resurfaced, sketching a path of danger he thought he had buried long ago. "Who is looking for me?" he asked, dread pooling in his stomach. "Some old friends know, that's not right." "Some old rivals," she admitted, her brow knitting with concern. "They found out about your return and they're not happy." His heart raced, the bittersweet excitement of being a father now muddled by a creeping fear. "But I left that life behind. I thought running away meant it was over." He searched her eyes, desperate for a flicker of reassurance. "It doesn't always work that way," she said gently, her voice steady yet filled with compassion. "And they want something from you, Jack. Something from your past." His children, blissfully unaware of the shift in mood, continued to look at him with wide, innocent eyes. He felt a deep pang of guilt settle over him. "I can't let them near you," he whispered, panic rushing in. "They could hurt you. Any connection to my past could put you all in danger." "No," his son interjected, his voice rising in reflection of Jack's panic. "You said we can do this together. We're your family now." Jack hesitated, torn between wanting to shield them and the newly kindled flame of hope that being together could ignite a brighter future. "You're right. We are family," he said, steadier now, pulling in a deeper breath. Megan's mother took a step closer. "This doesn't have to bury the progress you've made with your children. You've faced your past and made a life for yourself and them. But it also means you have to confront what you ran away from." He nodded slowly, feeling the knot in his chest loosen just a bit. "I can't let them dictate my life any longer. I have to meet whoever it is. I need to know what they want." "Is that really safe?" she asked, concern spilling over in her eyes. "It doesn't matter," he replied, a fierce determination igniting within him. As long as we're together, we'll face whatever comes." He looked at his children, their eyes brimming with trust. His mind raced, crafting a plan that required focus and courage. Just then, the faint sound of a doorbell echoed through the house. It was abrupt, cutting through their moment of resolve like a siren in the night. Who could that be? Jack wondered aloud, glancing apprehensively back at Megan's mother. She shook her head, worry etched on her forehead. "I don't know, but maybe it's not just a visitor. Maybe it's someone who knows more." Jack's heart thudded anew as he approached the door, uncertainty swirling in his gut. Was this the confrontation he feared? What awaited him on the other side? With every step forward, the stakes felt higher. He paused for a moment and glanced back at his children, their hopeful expressions igniting a flicker of bravery deep within him. The past might catch up, but he would not allow it to steal the future from them. Turning the knob, Jack took a breath and opened the door. Unbeknownst to him, the choices he was about to make would change everything. But who or what awaited him on the other side? As Jack opened the door, a gust of wind rushed past him, almost as if the universe was exhaling, holding its breath in anticipation. Standing before him was a tall figure cloaked in shadows, features obscured but posture radiating an air of authority. Jack's heart raced, unsure if he was facing a ghost from his past or a new adversary threatening his fragile hope for the future. "Jack Thompson," the figure spoke, voice low and gravelly. "We need to talk." Jack's instinct screamed at him to slam the door shut, to protect his children and the newfound family he'd just begun to rebuild. But the urge to confront his past, to finally face the music, pulled him in the opposite direction. "What do you want?" Jack replied, his voice steadier than he felt. "Your past is catching up to you, and it's not about the accolades anymore. It's about what you left behind." Jack's stomach twisted. He didn't want to drag his children through old battles. He turned his head back toward the living room, where his children now stood, eyes wide with confusion. Each innocent stare felt like a weight urging him to shield them from all he had tried to escape. "Mommy," the little girl whispered, looking up at Megan, who stood just behind Jack. Megan's hand found his shoulder, squeezing gently. "It's okay, Jack. You're not alone." Her calming presence reminded him of the collective strength blossoming among them. The stranger stepped slightly forward, shifting into a sliver of light. Jack could make out the sharp lines of a familiar face, one he thought he'd forgotten. "It's time to explain to your kids the truth about your history, Jack. You can't run anymore." Heart pounding, Jack felt the suffocating grip of his regrets mixed with something more potent defiance. "And what do you know about my history?" Jack shot back. The figure smirked, as though taken aback by Jack's nerve. "More than you realize. Your choices have repercussions. You can't just throw it all away like the trophies collecting dust in your garage. You owe it to these kids to be honest. They deserve to know why you were gone." Jack's resolve wavered. Fear took root, intertwining with the protective instinct swelling inside him. He turned again to see his children, full of innocence but needing their father to be honest. "Dad?" his son asked tentatively, taking a small step forward. "Is it true? Were you really a racer?" For a brief moment, Jack hesitated. He wanted to shield them from his past mistakes, but he also knew that they needed the whole story raw and real. Taking a deep breath, Jack knelt, bringing himself eye to eye with his children. "Yes," he said, voice firm but filled with emotion. "I was. But that life wasn't just about speed and glory. There were risks, real and dangerous ones. I made choices that hurt people, choices I can never take back." The children's eyes widened in understanding, suspicion mingling with curiosity. "But you're here now, right?" his son asked, voice tinged with a blend of hope and concern. "Yes, I'm here. And I'm trying to be better. To be the dad you deserve." Jack's heart twisted at his son's simple question, just what they needed from him. "I won't ever leave you again. I promise." The stranger shifted uncomfortably as if sensing the emotional tide rising within, yet Jack could feel its weight bending him further toward resolution. "It's time to move on, Jack. You can't keep living in the shadow of that life. You have a new one to protect." "You don't understand," Jack snapped, frustration erupting. "The wreckage of my past, it's not just mine anymore. I've already hurt them by being absent. How can I keep them safe from more?" Megan stepped in between Jack and the stranger, her presence commanding authority. "It's a part of him that needs healing, just like the rest of us. You can't take the past back, and you shouldn't have to. But you don't get to threaten his family and expect him to be passive about it." Her fiery words ignited a spark, reminding Jack of the power of unity. He took a deep breath, grounding himself in the realization that together they would forge into uncharted territory. "Let us talk," Jack finally said, strength returning to his voice. "But not out here. You want answers? Let us take it somewhere private, away from them." The figure nodded, respect creeping into their demeanor. "Very well." Jack looked back to his children, their faces painted with anxiety and confusion. "Stay with Megan. I'll be right back." He felt the weight of their understanding, urging him to go out and reclaim his past as a means to protect their future. As he stepped out with the stranger, a need for clarity surged through him. Every ounce of fear met with a resolve stronger than he thought possible. Their small family would not just heal. They were forging a path the past would not dictate their future. "Whatever it is you think you know," Jack said, determination in his tone, "I'm not running away again. I'll face it this time, no matter how ugly it gets." Jack stepped into the unknown, feeling the heartbeat of his family behind him, a powerful reminder of what was worth fighting for. In that moment, surrounded by uncertainty, he made an unbreakable vow not to erase the past but to embrace it and weave it into the tapestry of their future, transforming regret into resilience, hurt into healing. And as the door closed, Jack felt the distance between him and his past shorten to a single breath, calm and steady like the first deep inhalation before the roar of an engine ignites and the race begins. Jack was finally ready to win, not just for himself but for the family he had fought so hard to reclaim and build anew together. Now, as you've journeyed with us through Jack's incredible story of hope and transformation, don't hesitate to take a moment and show your support. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories that inspire change. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help more people discover these uplifting tales. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about this powerful ending. Your voice matters. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Don't wait not even one more second. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions. Thank you for being part of this incredible journey.